Hello, Aubrey. How are you today?
Hey, Lindsay, I'm great. I have a question for you.
Okay, I'm ready.
What is the last thing you spent a lot of time on that felt really worth it?
Oh, definitely every time I take the time, and it takes a lot of time to fly to the East Coast. It's a 4-hour
Mm,
plane ride, and the time that it takes to go to the airport, get ready for the airport, the whole thing. But to go see my family always feels worth it. So I'm going again this weekend to see them in Boston to celebrate my mom's birthday, and it's always
nice.
worth it, Aubrey.
That's
Yeah.
such a great example, right? The time and inconvenience of travel, especially when you have to take a flight. But
Mhm.
when you're going to see family, friends, definitely worth it.
Definitely worth it for sure. And I like this question because this can lead to some really nice connection around understanding someone's values, right?
Exactly, right? What they spend time on and why, and what they feel is really worth it.
Yeah.
You could get closer with someone very
Mhm.
quickly just by asking
Mhm.
this question.
100%. So this is what we're going to get into today. I am excited, but first, hit the follow button if you want to find All Ears English in your queue. 5 days a week we publish. Aubrey, that is the way to become more confident and focus on what matters, which is connection. Yeah?
Absolutely, right? That is what we focus on, connection, not perfection. We want you to be able to connect with others in English. So definitely hit follow here if you also believe in learning like this.
Nice. All right. So we have a question today about worth versus worthy. Shall I go ahead and read Natalia's question?
Yes, let's do it.
Okay. And is Natalia a student in our courses? It looks like she is because she posted
Yes,
this
she
in our
posted
community.
this in our community, and it
Okay.
led to this really great conversation. Lots of other students posting comments, and I posted
Cool.
right away an answer and was like, this, and someone even said this would be a great episode. So,
There you
yeah,
go.
let's
All
share.
right. Don't forget, guys, when you're in our courses, you get access to our special exclusive community where you can have conversations like this. Aubrey's in there, we're in there, and students are in there responding to each other. Right.
Yes, it's
Okay.
amazing.
Here's Natalia's question. Hi, guys. I'm wondering if you ever get confused with when to use worth and when to use worthy. This always confused me. Like yesterday, when I listened to this episode of All Ears English and Lindsay mentioned this phrase, some people are worth melting for. I was not sure if it was worth or worthy in that phrase, as I couldn't tell the difference just by listening. And the most important thing that I don't is that I don't know exactly when to use each one. So I'd like to post this question here and wish to have some answers. Thank you very much and have a nice day.
Oh, it's
Nice.
such a good question. And they are very similar the way they sound. So I can totally see you're listening, not sure which is said or why one or the other would be said. So I'm excited to dive into this today.
Yeah.
And I also want to share one of the comments. Antonio commented and he was like, "Oh, this is an excellent discussion, maybe worthy of an episode on the All Ears English podcast." And then he said, "This community really is of inestimable worth." Such
Wow.
amazing vocabulary. I had shared sort of, examples of all of them. So he used both worthy and worth, and then the adjective inestimable, which means you
Un-
can like beyond estimation, just
mhm.
extremely big.
Yeah.
Amazing.
Absolutely amazing. I have to admit, that's a word I don't even use. I mean, do you use that on a daily basis? It's very high level.
It's a mouthful. It reminds me of that recent episode you and Michelle did with, indisputably and ineffably, like all of these words that are quite
Yes.
a mouthful, but very impressive and very high level. So I do hear it. I use it every now and then, but I was impressed when I saw Antonio use this amazing vocabulary.
I love it. I love to see this super high level vocab, C1, C2, probably C2 vocabulary, really,
Yes.
coming
Yeah.
from our students. So let's break it down. Today, we're going to break it down between 3 or 4 extensions of this word, right, Aubrey?
Exactly. And as an FYI, the episode that was being referred to here by Natalia, where Lindsay mentioned this, if you missed it, we definitely want you to hear it. So stay to the end. We're going to share which episode that was and the context. What does that mean worth melting for? This is
Yeah.
not a super common phrase in English, so we'll share that at the end. Be sure to stay. And yeah, let's dive first into just worth.
Yeah, worth. Okay. So this is really talking about the value of something, right?
Exactly. So
Hmm.
what is your
Yeah.
time worth?
Yeah.
You might
Or,
ask somebody.
or this painting is worth millions, right?
Yeah, and we're talking
Uh,
about the value, what actually would be paid for it is its worth.
Or this car was worth every penny. This is when we've purchased something and we feel it's been a really good value. We've gotten a lot of, for some reason, it was a good purchase. Yeah.
Exactly. This is a chunk we use, worth every penny. That
Mhm.
means it was definitely worth the price that we paid. You could say this about anything. You could be eating a cookie and say, this was worth every penny.
Yeah, and it's so interesting
Usually we
to
say it for something that's expensive, right?
It's just so interesting to watch that sometimes value is so subjective, the value of something. We had this experience when we were selling my aunt's rock collection. Like some people say, "Oh, that's worth so much," and that's not worth anything. No, I see that everywhere. It's just like the same rock you're talking about, right? It's just incredible.
Exactly. Exactly. Value is in the eye of the beholder, right? To some people, something is valued much higher than others. Art is the same. Some people
Art's the
will
same.
or can pay
Yeah,
millions, and others,
right.
I'll just look at that
Yeah.
work
Is
of
it
art.
I mean, there are certain products that obviously a car has a price tag on it. You know the general range, but when it comes to things like art, things like nature, like I don't know,
Precious
minerals and
gems.
gems and
Yes,
things,
lots of things.
very subjective, very subjective. It's
Exactly.
fascinating. Yeah,
Collections often. Someone will spend so much for something rare that it has no worth to someone else. Very interesting.
exactly. Exactly. What else, Aubrey? What else do we need to know?
So this worth, something that has a value, what is it worth, is different from the next three meanings we're going to talk about. Worthy, and then also the chunk worth it, that like the
Hmm.
question I asked you at the top, what's worth it? And then worth blank for, like worth dying for. We'll give you a few other options. These are all about how deserving something or someone is. So let's dive into some
Yes.
examples of these.
Okay, so for worthy, right? So everyone is worthy of love, meaning they deserve it, right? Everyone
Exactly.
deserves love.
Everyone
Yeah.
deserves love. And we use this way to be sort of poetic and, the way we speak, right? Everyone is worthy of affection. Everyone is
Right.
worthy of care, of thoughtfulness, of kindness, right? We're talking about
Hmm.
humans in general being deserving of certain rights and certain, compassion.
For sure. For sure. And what's another example sentence?
You
Sample
could
sentence.
say, there are many charities worthy of donations. And you're
Uh-huh.
saying they're deserving of donations because the cause they are fighting for is worthy.
Yeah, so that's worthy. And we maybe hear that a little bit less than worth it or worth, but it's good to have that as an option, right? In the right
Yes.
context, it's great to be able to say that, I think.
Absolutely. We often instead say worth it, which has the
Yeah.
same meaning to say it's deserving in some way, right? Like the time and inconvenience of the travel was worth it because the
Hmm.
people you were visiting are deserving of your time and love to see them, and you are deserving of spending time with your family.
Exactly. So I would encourage our listeners to think, the same question we asked at the top of the show. What have you
Mhm.
spent time on that was worth it lately? And if you're not finding anything, maybe to rethink, how we're spending our time. That's an interesting challenge,
It's a
don't
really
you
good
think?
point, right? It's
Mhm.
like, well, I binged a couple of TV shows, but was it worth it? I don't know.
Yeah, I don't
Maybe
know.
reorganize our priorities. Totally.
Right, right, exactly. Or here's another sample sentence. I spent a lot on this piano, but it was worth it. Okay.
Yeah,
Yes.
so anytime, and this can be about time or money, whatever it is that you're giving to something, if it's worth it to you, right? That means it's deserving of the time or expense.
Okay, Aubrey. So there's a fourth that we want to make sure our listeners know. What is that?
Yeah. And this is worth dying for, or, there are a lot of options here worth living for, worth sacrificing for, worth waiting in line for. You can add
Uh-huh.
anything in there, right?
Yeah. Yeah.
And this is likely what causes most of the confusion between worth
Mm.
and worthy, because someone being, worth dying for is idiomatic. And it means that someone or something is worthy of praise or affection or love. So they are very closely intertwined.
Yes, I love that. So, a couple of examples that we should go through. Yeah. So,
Yeah.
this chocolate is worth dying for. So, I'm saying I'm enjoying a really good piece of chocolate.
That's
And
very idiomatic, right?
yeah.
Probably not literally worth dying for, but we say this to exaggerate, just to say it's delicious. It's
Yeah, and
amazing.
as a bonus here, sometimes I'll hear people say it's to die for. Same meaning,
Yes,
right?
same
We
meaning.
just
Good
don't use
point.
the worth there. So it is to die for. Please order the chocolate cake. It is to
It's
die
to
for.
die for. Yes, that's even
Mhm.
more common, I would say, for
Yeah.
sure. And then we
Mhm.
also use this more literally to say, like, I'd never go base jumping. It's not worth dying for. And then you're
Mm.
actually saying, like, I think I could die. So I'm not going to do that. It's not worth it. It's not worth the
Right.
risk.
A little hyperbolic in a way, but could be very
Yeah, it's
dangerous. I mean,
possible.
like when
There are
you
some
shared
extreme
the
sports that
yeah.
are not without risk, so you might say this a little more literally.
Yes, we need to be careful for sure. Look at what's in the water, right, before we jump, yeah?
Exactly. Let's do a role play and use all of these, versions of worth. In this role play, you and I are Black Friday shopping. Are you a big Black Friday shopper, Lindsay?
I'm really not. No, I did not go shopping on Friday. I went to a party and just relaxed, took my dog to the dog park. What about you, Aubrey?
No, I never go in person anymore. I don't wanna deal with the crowds, but I do look for Black Friday deals online,
Uh-huh.
and I found some great sales online. I'm more of an
Good.
online Black Friday shopper and Cyber Monday, both.
Yeah, most people are. Most people
Yeah,
are these days. Yeah, we've just had Thanksgiving, so that's why we're saying that. So give our listeners a little context here. All right, Aubrey, let's get into this
yeah.
role play.
All right,
So
I'll
go
start
for
us.
it. Mhm.
I had to get here 2 hours early. I hope it's worth it.
Oh, I think this sale is definitely going to be worth waiting in line for.
The TVs are still $500. I don't think any TV is worth that.
Agreed. Oh, look, the Salvation Army is collecting donations for rehabilitation programs. Definitely a worthy cause.
Nice.
Nice.
So we use them all here.
Yep.
I started with, I hope it's worth it. This is number 3 to say, I hope it's worth the time. I hope it's worth waking up early. We use this chunk to say, oh, I hope it's worth it.
Yeah, and very common too, right? As we said,
Yes.
we hear this a lot. And then I said, "Oh, I think this sale is definitely going to be worth waiting in line for, or if you got up early, worth waking up for," right?
Yes, worth waking up early for. This is that chunk. We don't always say worth dying for. We often will add whatever we actually did. Oh, it's definitely worth waking up early for.
Yeah, kind of a morbid thing, but it reminds me a little bit of, do you remember in 2000, like I think it was 9 or 10, there was a trampling at Walmart
Oh,
at the Black
yes.
Friday sales. I think that's when things tipped into online being the major I feel like that's when everyone kind of is like, "Okay, this is too crazy.
Yes.
Black Friday, physical Black Friday is too intense."
Right, it
And
lined up
online
really
shopping
well
was
with
yeah. Mhm.
technology being available to put it more
Exactly.
online because they realize these crowds and people waiting in line for hours is
Yeah.
not the best idea.
Not good, not good. Oh my gosh. Alright, so worth waiting in line for, and then what, Aubrey?
And then I was talking about the price of the sale price of these TVs, and I was like, "I
Mhm.
don't think any TV is worth that." So
No.
I'm saying it doesn't have that value for me. I don't know if I would spend even the sale price.
Mhm. And then I mentioned, oh, the Salvation Army is collecting donations. Definitely a worthy cause. So to me, and this is where it really relates closely to the other words, it's worth it to go ahead and donate the money. It's a worthy cause as an adjective. Yeah.
Exactly, whatever their cause is, yeah, exactly, it's deserving of, donations, it is deserving of our praise maybe, then would say, like you said, worth it or
Mhm.
worthy.
Yes. And now I know, now I remember where that quote came from, Aubrey. It was from Frozen, the quote we mentioned earlier in the episode.
Exactly. Yes,
Yes.
exactly. Natalia heard you mention in 2311 how to
Yeah.
quote famous animated movies in English. There's this
Mhm.
quote from Frozen, some people are worth melting for. And this is a play on words because we do say worth dying for, worth all of these things, but we wouldn't say worth melting for because we're not frozen.
Right.
But
Too
she's talking
cute.
about a snowman that melted for someone. And so with this play on words, this person was worth melting for.
Yeah, but I also think the word melting can be used when you're kind of falling in love with someone and, "Oh, wow, you're melting, your feelings are kind of just coming out," right? So it's kind of a double play on words as
That's
well in that
true. Yes, it
context.
could be used that way, right?
Yeah.
"Oh, that just made
Mhm.
me melt," means
Yeah,
like I was touched. It was really
exactly.
thoughtful maybe.
Love it. All right, Aubrey, what is our takeaway for today?
Yeah, this is such a great connection skill to ask people what they think is worth spending time or money on. So
Mhm.
definitely use these phrases to ask people what is worth it to them. What a
Yeah.
great way to connect in English.
Yeah, I think that's the key takeaway. Our assignment for you all today is to go and start that conversation about this one key question. What is something you did that felt worth it? We can learn so much about the person. We can question how we're living our own lives, if we want to make any big adjustments or just small adjustments. Sometimes life is about the tiny little choices we make, right?
Very true. Absolutely. And this definitely shows care. You're not going to ask this about someone if you don't care to learn about them, care to know about
Yes.
them. So I would feel if someone asked me this question, I would feel like, okay, they actually care to really get to know me.
Yeah, you got it. All right, good stuff. Hit the follow button, everyone, and we'll see you in the next episode.
Awesome. See you next time.
Thanks, Aubrey. Take
Bye.
care. Bye.